All right, everybody, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to our second webinar introducing our new Underwriting Xpress Plus program. So I guess the first one we did was before we launched, and this is our first one we've done since we've launched. So I'm going to quickly go through the program, all the details, describe everything, basically assuming that you haven't done anything with it, that you know nothing about it, go through all the details, explain everything. And then at the end, I will give you a couple updates on the program, things that may have changed since it launched, and then also give you a chance to answer or ask any questions that you may have. And but to respect everybody's time, I'm going to go through it, hold all the questions. You feel free to type in any questions you have throughout the webinar. And when we get to the end, to respect everybody's time, I'll go through and answer the questions. So if you don't have any questions, you heard everything, we should get you in and out of here in less than 30 minutes. And then at the end, if you want to hang around and hear some of the very broken up Q&A as I read through questions and answer them, you're more than welcome to as well. And I'll stay on as long as I can and answer all the questions we get. So last time we had a lot of questions, want to be sure, respect that. And if I happen to not get to any questions, then I have your contact information that you're registered with, and I can get back to you, especially if it's something very specific. So, all right, let's go ahead and jump in here and get started. Just to introduce myself, I'm Michael Musselman. I work for the Independent Marketing Group here at American National. I've been a part of the team that helped put this program together, so hopefully I can give you a little bit of insight into how it works and do what we can. So let's start off with explaining what is Xpress Plus. We're describing it as an evolution in our Underwriting Xpress program. And so just to take a step back, for those of you that have written with us in the past, and hopefully you're familiar with our Underwriting Xpress program we've had for the last 4 or 5 years. Basically, under that program, what happens is everything that's $250,000 and under, every life policy that comes in, it's basically no medical, and we review the application, and only if something is like if there's something that the underwriter can't use to determine the insurability, will they order a medical exam or an APS. And so that's the program we've had, so $250,000 and under. This new program basically makes it to where a medical exam will no longer be automatically required on all face amounts above $250,000. So prior to the program launching on July 19th, every single case that came in over $250,000, we just automatic requirement for a medical exam. So now there's no automatic requirement for cases over $250,000. So the way it works is the underwriter will make an initial review of the application and also review any third-party data we may have, such as MIB or the prescription report, and then they will either approve the policy or place a requirement for the medical exam. All right, next step here is just to kind of give you a flavor of what our Xpress Plus program is not. So just given how different of a program it is, we're not calling it an expansion of our Underwriting Xpress program. And that's just because with Underwriting Xpress, like we explained, like the mindset going in is that no medical exam will be run on anything $250,000 and below. With Xpress Plus, the thought more is you can submit it and there will not be an automatic underwriting paramed requirement, but there still is a chance that it will be run if we can't get enough information to issue the case. It's not simplified issue, it still requires a full application. It's definitely not a no medical exam program. That would set false expectations. With a no medical program, like our Underwriting Xpress program, you assume that you're not going to have to run a medical exam. On this one, we're assuming that most people still will need a medical exam, but with Xpress Plus, the thought is, yes, while most people will still need a medical exam, let's not make those that we can make a decision without a medical exam take one. So so that just means that on a significant amount of our business, if we can make an underwriting decision without a medical exam, we're going to try to do it. So it's just a different mindset. And then also, this is not an impaired risk program. You know, a lot of times no med programs or impaired risk programs, things that have limited underwriting, you assume higher rates, you assume that it's, you know, higher cost, standard only type rates. This is designed to basically fast track our easiest to underwrite cases. And so this is basically offering all of our classes, all of our best rates to our best risk. What qualifies? Okay, so coming into the program, just kind of setting what the parameters to qualify for Xpress Plus are. So the first thing that it has to be is an electronic application. So if you send in a paper application, you're going to have to go ahead and order a medical exam. If you submit an electronic application, you still may qualify for Xpress Plus. And you can submit that either through Expert App, which is our internal electronic application, or you can submit it through iPipeline or iGo, depending on how you refer to that. So either one of those will still qualify you for Xpress Plus. Paper application, you will not qualify for Xpress Plus. Ages 0 to 50, we're going up to $1 million with this program. 51 to 60, we're going up to $500,000. And once again, anything under 250,000 and under, still up to age 65, still qualifies for our Underwriting Express program. All underwriting classes are available, so we're not limiting this to standard or only like the best classes or anything like that. So all of our underwriting classes are available. You have to have nothing on our disqualification list or our knockout list, and we'll get into the details of what that is later. And then this is on all of our non-SI IMG life products. So we have a few simplified issue products, but this program works on all of our normal fully underwritten individual life products. And then here, just a table here to kind of put it side by side with our current Underwriting Express program, just so you can kind of compare and see how different it is. Once again, you know, with our Underwriting Express, it went up to age 65 and up to $250,000. The new Express Plus will kick in at $250,001 and go up to $1 million for ages up to 50, and then it'll go up to $500,000 for ages up to 60. Ages between 61 and 65, that Underwriting Express $250,000 limit still applies. Once again, we just mentioned it. You can see the electronic app requirement. You can see, like we just mentioned, all rate classes are available. On our Underwriting Express program, the only class we offered was standard. And then you can see kind of just that different mindset there with the Underwriting Express. We had about 65% of our applicants go through without any kind of exam or APS. And then on this new Express Plus, since once again we are talking about a different mindset where we're trying to fast track our easiest to underwrite cases, and so we're only expecting about 40% to make through without that exam requirement. All right, I have some comments that the audio is fading in and out. If anybody's still having trouble hearing me, go ahead and let me know. I'll try to talk a little more clearly into the microphone. So, all right, and then that last item, the use of a risk classifier. Our Underwriting Express program did not use a risk classifier, and our new Express Plus program does use a risk classifier, and we'll get into a little bit later what exactly a risk classifier is. But that's a new item on this program. So some of the differentiators with our program, this Express Plus program, there's a lot of companies out there right now, like embarking on different limited underwriting, streamlined underwriting programs. And so just want to point out to you some of the differentiators here. I think you'll look at this list and you'll see, you may see these qualities at other carriers, but I don't think you'll see this combination anywhere else. So one of the things, like we mentioned before, or actually we didn't mention this before, is that there is no tele-app requirement. And a tele-app basically is what I'm describing here is when you may take some of the initial information from the client on the application, but you don't go through and ask all the medical questions. Basically, you take the demographic information and submit this limited, like a smaller app, and then you submit it to us, and then you would basically have like a third party would come and ask all the medical questions. So the agent wouldn't ask all the medical history and medical questions. A tele-underwriter would. And so that's a big requirement with a lot of these limited or streamlined underwriting programs, especially the ones that go up to higher face amounts, is that you have to schedule a tele-underwriter. So you don't have to schedule a medical exam, but you have to schedule a tele-underwriting appointment with your client. And so they would go through and ask all the questions to your client. We're not requiring that. So once again, it goes up to $1 million. All of our underwriting classes are available. We've seen some programs that only offer this to their preferred plus classes. So if you have any kind of standard risk, so standard height, weight, combination, something like that, you're basically going to end up with, you're not going to be able to qualify for their limited underwriting program. And then conversely, we've seen programs that don't offer their preferred rates. They only offer up to standard rates. So with ours, we're offering all of our same classes at all of our same prices. So we're not changing prices, we're not repricing. Everything's still the same with our underwriting classes. And once again, we're doing all products. Some carriers only offer it on like their term products. They want term products, cheap products in and out kind of philosophy. And then some carriers are avoiding their term products and only doing it on their permanent products because they're trying to avoid some of the mortality risk associated with term products. So here we're offering it on all of our individual life products. Also with ours, you'll notice that if you've written with our products before on our rates, we're not changing our rates. All the same prices, all the same pricing bands at 500 and $1 million, all that's still the same. So no difference in prices. We're not creating a special product for this that's higher priced to absorb some of the risk or anything like that. This is all the same rates. And then another cool feature here is that if you submit with our expert app, you will actually get instant feedback. So if you're completing the application and you're answering the medical questions, and you answer something that is basically going to knock you out of the Xpress Plus program, something that's not going to disqualify you from getting insured, but maybe something that we know automatically is going to mean that we're not going to be able to run you through Xpress Plus and we're going to need a medical exam. When you get to the end of the application, before you sign it, it'll let you know, hey, you need to go ahead and get a medical exam because you're not going to qualify for Xpress Plus based on the information you gave us on the application. So it doesn't take into account everything, but it does let you know if there's something you indicated on the application that's going to knock you out of the program, you know up front, so you can go ahead and order that medical exam right there and not wait if it's going to be a requirement. So that's a cool feature there. That notification is not in iPipeline, but it is in our expert app. So that's another good reason to, if you're still using iPipeline, to switch over and use expert app. But once again, if you submit an application with iPipeline, you still can go through Xpress Plus. You just won't get the pop-up notification letting you know that the client will not qualify for Xpress Plus based on the answers on the application. All right, here we have our knockout list. We mentioned it before. It's basically a knockout list, disqualification list, and we wanted to be upfront with this because of the mindset of this program is that it is a streamlined program for those that are the easiest to underwrite. And so things on this list are going to make you less easy to underwrite. And so we want to be upfront about it so that you know when you're taking the application to be able to set expectations for you and for your client as to whether a medical exam is going to be necessary. And so this list here is in our marketing materials on our website. It's in our underwriting guidelines. All of our Xpress Plus materials and marketing materials are on our website. You can either click on the slider that's on the homepage right now, or you can go to our life section of our website. But anyway, just want to kind of go through this list. There's nothing shocking on this list. You'll notice that, especially in that left column, most of these are health conditions that are going to affect your insurability anyway. And so, but we just want to be upfront with everybody that, yeah, if you've got anything listed in this left-hand column, like a medical issue of this severity, yeah, you're going to have to go ahead and order the medical exam when you submit the application. So don't wait for us to ask you for it. You might as well go ahead and order it. There are a few things on here I want to go ahead and explain. I'm not going to go through every single little detail. The first thing is this item right here that mentions the build plus 50 grader. Basically, all that means is that if you've got a height weight combination that would normally put you in like a substandard height weight build, you're probably gonna disqualify from Xpress Plus. So basically, if you've got a standard build, you're more than likely going to qualify for Xpress Plus. If you've got like a standard substandard build, you're gonna not. So you might as well go ahead and order the medical exam. This item right here, we've mentioned it already. This risk classifier. I'm in my next couple of slides, I'm going to get into the details of what this new risk classifier is, but it's a new underwriting tool we have, and we put in with this program. This next item, we've had several people ask about this, so I want to kind of get into it. Basically, if your prescription record is not found and you're over 50 years old, it's going to knock you out of the program. And all that means is that, the reason we can underwrite somebody without a medical exam is because we can use a lot of different information, both on the application and with third-party databases, to make the same decision. And what that requires is when we go out to these third-party sources that we find records and history on people. And so as part of our risk selection, if you're over the age of 50 years old, we kind of expect there to be some kind of history of prescriptions. You know, you've filled some type of prescription. I don't know if anybody who's in their 50s that has never gone and gotten an antibiotic or gotten any kind of prescription filled. And so if we go out there and we see no prescription record for somebody who's over 50 years old, it kind of raises a red flag. So that just means that it's not necessarily a bad thing or a negative thing for insurability. It just means that we can't make a decision based on somebody who has no prescription database history. Let's see. And then here, this is another one we've had a few questions about. Basically, if you've had labs done, so if you've basically had another policy, either medically underwritten with us or with another carrier in the last 12 months, that's going to knock you out of Xpress Plus. And the main reason for that is, one, that means that's to keep people from basically applying with multiple companies and kind of making decisions based on the carrier that has the least amount of information. So if that exam has already been run and information's out there, you know, we're going to go ahead and try to get that. So, and then here, this last item, another item, is basically if on the application there's something that differs from what is that we find in our third-party checks, that's going to kick you out of Xpress Plus. And so basically, you know, if you put, you know, on the application you say no nicotine, and then we go out and run MIB and we see a history of an application where the client was indicated they applied somewhere else as a smoker, that's going to raise a red flag for us. Or if you say, hey, no history of high blood pressure, we run your RX report and we see there's a couple of high blood pressure medications, maybe not current, but within the last, you know, X number of years, that conflicts with what's on the application, that's going to kick you out of Xpress Plus. So, you know, that's, you know, one of the key reasons we need all the information up front. But yeah, that's going to automatically raise a red flag and cause us to go ahead and order the medical exam. All right. We've mentioned it several times, the risk classifier. What is the risk classifier? So basically the risk classifier, it's a LexisNexis product. LexisNexis is a third party. They provide a lot of underwriting labs and other types of information. And so they have created a product called LexisNexis Risk Classifier. And what that does is it uses FCRA governed sources to come up with a determination on whether somebody is a good mortality risk or not. And so FCRA, for those of you who don't know, it's the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And so basically the components of this risk classifier are your credit history. So it goes to the credit history databases and gets some information, Experian, TransUnion. It also involves MVR, motor vehicle records, and also different public records. And the public records are actually one of the biggest determiners in the risk classifier. And so public records, it looks at liens, professional licenses you may have, criminal records, bankruptcies, property ownership. So it looks at all that and it comes up with a determination of whether the applicant is a good or a poor mortality risk. And so the big question we get here is, so you're using credit to underwrite, and that answer is no. So this is not a FICO score. It's not a credit score. FICO score basically looks at a person who's applying for a loan or for credit and determines whether they're a good candidate to repay this loan or the credit risk. Here we're looking, this score or this risk classifier is basically using some of the same factors, but it's using other factors and in different combinations that have shown to be predictive of mortality risk. All right, so now that I've got many of you scared because now you've got this risk classifier and its effects, I kind of want to just give a quick breakdown of how it affects this Xpress Plus program. So if you end up with a positive risk classifier, which you would a good mortality risk classifier, basically that will make you eligible for Xpress Plus, and it means that all underwriting classes are available. And then if you end up with an average risk classifier, it means that you will not be eligible for Xpress Plus. So you need to have a good risk classifier in order to qualify for Xpress Plus. If you have an average, you're not going to qualify for Xpress Plus, but you will still have all of the underwriting classes available. So the medical exam requirement will be added, but you can still get all the way up to preferred plus rates. And then if you have a negative risk classifier, you end up not only not being eligible for the Xpress Plus program, but at that point, the standard class is the best risk available to you. So no matter how good your health history or anything like that, the best class that you're going to be able to qualify for at that point is standard. And once again, I can sense the panic over the internet as we speak, but I'm going to give a little breakdown here. So 40%, we're thinking, we mentioned that before, will have this positive risk classifier and likely qualify for our Xpress Plus underwriting, not have to get a medical exam. Think about the rest, this 50% is going to end up in that average group. So they're going to have to get underwriting, but medical underwriting, but once again, no effect on the actual insurability. And so we're thinking about 10% should fall into this last bucket where the best class available will be standard. And even that is probably a little bit overblown, just because more than likely, if you're in this 10% bucket here, there's more than likely going to be issues in your health history or something else, your criminal history, your health history, that would have caused you to get standard or worse rates anyway. There's a lot of overlap in our existing distribution that shows that, if you have a poor risk classifier, you also probably have other indicators on your application as well. So even that 10% is a little overblown. Most of the people in that bucket would have gotten standard or even worse or been non-insurable anyway. So it's not as big as it seems. Just a little bit of background on FCRA. So the authorization to provide the risk classifier is covered in the application already. So no change there to the authorization or anything in the application. The additional item in our process now is that if there's any adverse action we take because of this risk classifier, basically if the risk classifier is the sole reason that we increase a rate, so we mentioned before on that last slide, that in that group where, if you were, all intents and purposes, you were a preferred risk, but the risk classifier says that you're standard, so the best we offer you is standard. In that situation, we will have to notify the customer of an adverse action. It's like if you ever get rejected for credit, you get kind of that same treatment. So what will happen at that point is a letter will be sent directly to the consumer, basically explaining that that it was this LexisNexis risk classifier that caused them to have their rate increased. And so this is a sample of the letter that will go out to the customer. It will not be in expert office or anything like that. One of the requirements of this FCRA is that to protect privacy, that these kinds of things go directly to the consumer. it'll fire off and go out at about the time that we would normally send out our MIV. So once the underwriter makes a decision, this letter goes out. Same thing with the MIV. As soon as the underwriter makes a decision where MIV was somehow involved, it sends that notification to the customer. So basically, it describes the action that was taken up here. And basically, this next section here, it actually will give codes and reasons why their risk classifier was poor. So it'll take the top 4 reasons that contributed to a poor risk classifier and put them here. So the customer has an idea. So it may have like a bankruptcy code, something like that here. And so based on that, that gives the customer an idea of what caused their risk classifier to be so poor. And then if there's something on there, like if the number 1 code says bankruptcy and they know they've never filed for bankruptcy, just like with anytime you're rejected for credit or anything like that, you have the ability to contest that and get the item cleaned up on there. So it basically invites the customer to go on to either mail or call this number, and talking to them, calling this number is the best way to go. So they'll call that number and they can request a free report and see the full risk classifier report, all the details on it. And if there's anything in there that's not correct, they can actually work with LexisNexis to clean that up. So they can let LexisNexis know. LexisNexis will go to the agency or whoever reported that item that's not right and tell them to take it off, or confirm that with them or whatever. But in the end, they will get it cleaned up for them. And so basically the next question we normally get is, well, so if I go in and get it cleaned up, that's probably going to improve my risk classifier. When can I reapply for insurance and qualify for that better rate? And so what LexisNexis tells us is, after the item is cleaned up, so everything is cleaned up with LexisNexis and the reporting agency, in about 60 to 90 days after that, if they rerun your risk classifier, it will reflect that item being taken off the report. So about 60 to 90 days after the item is cleaned up, you can rerun your risk classifier and potentially it be better and qualify for better rates. And then at this point, you're probably asking yourself, why the heck would I put my client through this, or why would my client go through all this just to get a policy with American National? And the first answer I'd say is because, it's the best product, right? No, but the real answer is that, obviously, if we're seeing this, if LexisNexis is seeing this erroneous bankruptcy or whatever the item may be, that erroneous bankruptcy is reported on some type of agency where everybody is seeing this. So it's not only just affecting their insurability with American National, it could be affecting, if you go and apply at another company, a lot of different life insurance companies are using this as a criteria now. So it may affect your insurability at other companies as well. In addition, property and casualty insurance, so car insurance, homeowners insurance, all of those rates are very tied to these types of factors as well. So it could be driving up their auto insurance rates. It could be driving up their homeowners insurance rates. So basically this, erroneous item could be affecting a lot of what they are doing right now. And so this is an opportunity to get that cleaned up and a nice excuse to go in and clean that item up and improve their rates across the board, not just with American National and not just with life insurance. So I know it sounds like a negative, but let's try to spin it as a positive. Communication. We want to make this as smooth of a process as possible. We know there's some back and forth, and so you mentioned before that Expert App. If you use Expert App and you complete the application in Expert App, it will notify you whether the case, based on the answers on the application, will likely or is at least in the Xpress Plus. Still qualifies for Xpress Plus. And so it's one of the last screens before you sign the application. There's a screen that asks whether you've ordered the medical exam, whether you've ordered the paramed, and it asks you to check a box as to which one. On that screen, a little blue box will pop up, and it'll let you know that this case is eligible for Xpress Plus. And so you can see the little notification there. That little notification in italics will be in a blue box, and it'll let you know that, one, based on what you told us on the application, you don't need to order medical exams at this time, and you can basically like monitor the status of your case in Expert Office. And if we have to order the medical requirement based on the risk classifier or MIB or prescription check, we will let you know through Expert Office. So any way that you work with us now that you get notified of requirements, those will pop up there. So, and the key is on that screen, if you see this blue box and you don't plan on ordering the medical exam, don't check a box on there that says you are. So if you go in that box and you say, yes, I'm ordering a medical exam, that's going to automatically kick you out of Xpress Plus, because it's telling us that you're going to order the medical exam. So what does that tell us? That you don't want to be in Xpress Plus. So we're going to sit back and wait for the medical exam, the paramed, to get run. So on that screen, you'll see there, all you got to do is check no, I'm not running any labs, and you'll see that blue box, and then you can just move on to the next screen and sign it. So, and then if you happen to do check something on that says you're going to order a medical exam and it looks like you qualify for Xpress Plus, we're actually going to pop up a second little box there, and I believe it's in pink. And that second message in italics will pop up, and it'll say that the case is eligible for Xpress Plus. And please note that by ordering these requirements, basically the ones you've indicated you're going to order, it will disqualify you from the program. So if you tell us you're going to order these exams, that's going to create the requirement. So you are basically creating the medical exam requirement at that point. And there are instances where, yeah, you've looked at the knockout list and you know, based on this client, even though there's not anything on the application that indicates it, you know that they're likely going to be disqualified. They've already applied somewhere else and there's a medical exam out there. You know, there's something out there that's already knocked them off this list. And so you're going to let us know that you're going to go ahead and order that medical exam. So we're going to go ahead and wait for it. And then once again, if you do indicate something on the application that we know is going to make you not eligible for Xpress Plus, we're going to let you know on that same screen. And so that message in the italics will pop up at that point. So basically to let you know to go ahead and schedule that paramed and get that out of the way, because we're going to need it, because there's something on the application that means that we're going to need that medical exam. So all that is an Expert app. It will not be an iPipeline, just to repeat once more. And then here's what the requirements will look like, either however you get your requirements today from us for underwriting. So if it is an Xpress Plus eligible case, it's going to have that bold pending underwriter review. So it'll say pending underwriter review up until the point to where the underwriter reviews the case. And so at that point, underwriter reviews the case. They say, hey, I can issue this policy without an exam, so I'm going to go ahead and approve it. Boom, you'll see in there that the case has been approved. So you'll see that pending until the case is approved. If once it gets to the once it gets to the point to where they review something and they realize it's not going to qualify for Xpress Plus, this second requirement will pop up. So it'll tell you to order the exam blood urine due to ineligible for Xpress Plus program. So that's the requirement that pops up. And then after that, it'll actually pop up all the different individual requirements as well. So once again, these requirements will be available however you normally get your requirements from us, whether you constantly check Expert Office, whether you get your life status emails that we provide, whether you're opted into those. You know, it'll go to where whoever, like if it's the agent themselves that get the requirements, or if it's the upline or whoever, the back office, whatever it is that normally gets requirements and follows up on those, will get notified. In addition to that, the underwriter will also email whoever they normally contact, the agent or the upline, that the exam or lab requirement has been added. So that's just a little extra where they'll go ahead and shoot off an email to whoever they have as the contact on the appointment paperwork. All right, I can see we've already got a lot of questions on this. So changes to Underwriting Express. A lot of people have been asking this throughout the webinar. The big change to Underwriting Express, our 250,000 and under business, is that we are now referring to it as Xpress without the E. So we have Xpress and Xpress Plus now, and so no more Underwriting Express. But that's the only change. So all of our applications in business 250,000 and under, we are not changing that program at any time. So that program is still submit an application, paper or electronic. Anything under 250,000, still the best rate you can get is standard, but no medical exam. If there's something we can't solve on the application or the third-party databases, we may order an APS or medical exam. But that's the program with the 65%, and at this point, nothing's changing with that. So no changes there. All right, updates. Since our launch on 7/19, once again, this program's been out there for a couple of weeks, and so this webinar, I just wanted to give a few updates on how we see things are going. So one thing is, we wanted to be reactive. We got it out there. We're already making minor tweaks to the program to improve it, and most of this is process and just little things to help with communication and just make things a little more seamless for everybody. So if you've used the program and there was something that kind of irked you or something that you didn't think was quite right, we're already making improvements to that process and getting quicker as we go. One of the things we're seeing so far is that we're seeing higher no exam rates with younger ages, and that's one you would probably expect. Younger age is probably going to have less issues come up in MIB or prescription check and things like that. So it stands to reason that you would see higher Xpress Plus approval rates with younger ages, but we're also seeing higher face amounts are getting through at a higher percentage. So that may be a little surprising to some. You would think we'd probably be a little more conservative with higher face amounts, but we're actually seeing with the higher, closer to $1 million applications, a lot higher percentage are getting through. So one of the things we've noticed, and one thing that'll help make sure that the cases get issued faster and they stay in the Xpress Plus course, is that, once again, remember, most of this is based on a lot of us replacing the medical exam information with information we get from third-party databases. And so if we don't get accurate information on the application up front, it throws that process, throws a big kink in that process. And so that just makes it more difficult to, basically just makes it more difficult to get that medical exam replacement type information from these third-party databases. So we've seen a lot of people get kicked out of Xpress Plus because they put the wrong Social Security number. The biggest one I've seen so far is driver's license number. By giving us an inaccurate driver's license number, that throws off the whole MDR process, and that's one of the third-party databases we check. And so, a lot of times we come back to the agent or the agent to try to get the accurate information, but once again, that kind of defeats the purpose of this streamlined process. So, it's always been the case that, so at some point, if you give us like bad information on the application, it's gonna slow things down. But here especially, the Xpress program does not work if we don't have correct information. So once again, double check those addresses, date of birth, driver's license, all that. We can catch it, get it corrected, move on with life. But once again, that'll slow things down. So that's one of the things we're seeing, at least up front, that's kind of put a little bit of a kink out in the process. And then another thing is to set proper expectations. Like we mentioned before, it's not a no medical exam process. More than half the people are still going to have to get a medical exam. So if you present it to a client that it is a no medical exam, you're probably setting the wrong expectation. We're setting the expectation that, hey, this is the same program you had before, same policy you're applying for. You're not having to do anything different. But 40% of the time, people are going to get through this and not have to get that medical exam. And so it's just kind of a bonus type process. So setting the proper expectations that, hey, there's a decent chance you're going to have to go ahead and get a medical exam is the way to go. And then also, just to let you know, like I mentioned before, we are seeing some higher face amounts get through this. It's not like, one of the bait and switch type programs. I was just looking through today. We've already approved in the short amount of time we've had this out there, several $1 million cases. I was looking today, we had a 32-year-old get approved for $1 million in 2 days. So our system only tracks increments of days, so I don't know, maybe it was even less than 2 days, but it was a 20-year term product, preferred plus, no tobacco rates, same rates that we offer on our fully underwritten business. We had another one, it was $1 million for a 48-year-old, and it was issued in 3 days. on one of our signature guarantee UL products. And that was a preferred non-tobacco. So we are seeing the results out there. It is true that you can get these policies, $1 million policies approved with no medical exam. So there we go. All right, I'm going to turn over and answer some questions now. So if you want to skip this part, this is all the material I'm presenting today. So if you want to jump off now, you can. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now. So if you are interested in a recording of this, we'll probably post it out to our website. There's already one out there now. So if you heard anything on here, you want to circle back, saw anything in the presentation you want to see again, there is a copy of this on our website.